Five Out Basketball, five segments, five takes. This is the podcast for NBA conversations. This is Five Out Basketball, and it starts in 3, 2, 1.
But there is another team that we could say has overperformed, and they're going to be our team breakdown this week. So last week was me complaining about how my life sucks as a Bulls fan. Everton's living a little nicer than I am. He's going to take a quick drink of water because he's about to talk. He's about to talk his crap. Everton, the floor is yours for the team breakdown of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oh man, I love this segment in general, but I was waiting for my team to pop up. And Thunder breakdown, man. Look, let me just read off the numbers so people know how good we've been this year before I get into my bag. We are 37-17, second in the West, the fourth best offense and the fourth best defense. We have probably the runner-up in MVP right now. SGA averaging 31, 5 and 7, 2 steals. Maybe the best defensive perimeter point guard, star level point guard in the league right now. J-Dub is having a most improved player level season. Obviously, I think Kobe White should win it. Got you there. But he's averaging 19, 4 and 4. His efficiency, though, is like 54, 45, 81. Now, he doesn't take a lot of threes, but when he takes them, he makes them. And then last but not least, obviously, the runner-up in Rookie of the Year right now, Chet Holmgren, averaging 17, 8 and 3, 2.5 blocks, shooting 54, 39, 77. He's in Defensive Player of the Year talks as well. I don't think he'll win it, obviously, with Rudy Gobert running away with the award. But, right now, I'm happy. Like, I didn't talk about Josh Giddey. He's Josh Giddey. It's hard to talk about him sometimes, bro. That's a slippery slope there. But he's not a terrible player. I know his the draft picture basically said Josh Giddey is bad at basketball. But
Yeah.
but he's not, he's okay. Cason Wallace, that was such a great pick. I mean, the Cason Wallace, like, defense is great. His efficiency is really good too. And I think offensively, he kind of pushed Trey Mann out. I'm not gonna lie. Us getting Cason Wallace made Trey Mann more expendable. Now, I saw he had 20-some points the other day for Charlotte. I'm happy for him. He was never really gonna get playing time here, so it made sense for us to trade him. But who else? We have Lou Dort. If you've ever been to the Dort Chamber, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, we got Gordon Hayward, who hasn't played for us yet, but I think he could be a solid vet. I think any young team could use a vet like Gordon Hayward who can, one, still play solid basketball, and two, be a good leadership presence. So happy to have him. Poku doesn't play much, but he's still Poku. Ousmane Deng is pretty solid as well. Aaron Wiggins. And then, of course, we have the best shooter in the league right now, Isaiah Joe. I'm joking, by the way, but he's a really good shooter. He's our best shooter. So Isaiah Joe, love to have him on the team. We have just so many players right now, and that doesn't even mention the 30-plus draft picks we have for the next few years. Whatever we choose to do with them, I'm okay with, as long as we manage them correctly. But yeah, man, it's been a long time coming. Like, I'm not gonna give you this sob story, but being a Thunder fan, because I've been a Thunder fan since about 2011. So being a Thunder fan, growing up, seeing KD, Harden, and Westbrook, then just KD and Westbrook for years, be really good, but us never actually win the championship. It's not depressing, but it's like, when are we gonna get the job done? Then 2016 happens. Man, that one hurt. But then KD leaves. We get to see Westbrook cook, and then we have PG and Westbrook. Then we get bounced by Damian Lillard. Then, we go into this rebuild stage where the past few years, we've been kind of knocking on the door, getting our young talent together. And to see us finally flourish right now is just feels like it's all meant something, So happy to see what we're doing. You have the floor.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send it back to you because we have two segments, but I'll be like the moderator for it because there's two ways to look at the Thunder team for the breakdown is can they win it now and how good they become with these draft picks and what's the best way to go with them accordingly. So we're gonna start with win now. Everton, I'm gonna give you like three teams and I want you to tell me who's winning in a playoff series.
Okay, bet.
All right, is it gonna be the Thunder or the Timberwolves?
Ooh, the Timberwolves have become somewhat of a rival to us as of late, with Anthony Edwards kind of throwing some shade at SGA.
He's such a hater.
I know, right? I'm like, dang, bro. But I would love that series because we're both top defensive. The only thing we have over them is we're a top offense. And that might be the deciding factor. I know playoff time, the game slows down, but we don't play crazy, crazy fast to where I think that would really mess us up. Because our star player, SGA, he plays at his own pace, you know? And I think the rest of the guys kind of play off of him in a way. So I think with our floor spacing, with our defense, and I'm not gonna say we're a deeper team than the Timberwolves because I feel like that'd be kind of lying. But I think I think kind of evenly matched. Like you talk about having a star guard, both teams have that. Anthony Edwards, SGA. I'm gonna take SGA over Anthony Edwards, but not like crazy, whatever. We have defensive stalwarts with Chet and Rudy, right? Rudy's probably the better one, obviously. He's older, but Chet, whatever. And then we have the third star kind of wing player or like three or four, whatever you consider J Dub. J Dub, Cat, right? Who on any given night can go for 30 to 40. And for some nights, maybe even 62. But not J Dub. He's not doing that yet. But and then a bunch of solid players around that can play defense and stretch the floor for both teams. I think it'll be a fun series. I'm gonna go OKC because I think our offense. I think with our defense being right below Minnesota, with us both being top 5 defenses, but us being a top 5 offense will come into play.
Well, I also agree, but here's the big thing is I think this is a nightmare matchup for the Timberwolves just because Chet Holmgren, he can shoot the rock. So if Gobert's going to be on him, it's going to be hard to keep him in the paint because if you have Cat on him, Chet's going to have a field day. Nothing against Cat, but Chet's that good of an offensive player. So Gobert's not always be able to be in the paint. That's going to create a bunch of openings. So I just think with having that shooting big, I think it's just a nightmare matchup for the Timberwolves. So I also give the Thunder this one.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't remember our record against the Timberwolves right now, but I'm pretty sure we have the better, like, against them. We've won more games, but don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure we do.
Yeah, and just for to preview a little segment, I consider J Double 4, so he will not be in my top 10 small forwards. Just thought I would tell everybody now. If he's in with you, that's fine.
He's not.
Yeah, okay.
So
Just want to make that clear. A little preview for a segment that we're gonna have coming later. Make sure you tune into that. But for the next one, we're gonna keep it with teams in the West. Would you take the Thunder or the Los Angeles Clippers?
Ooh.
A beautiful matchup.
They did beat us the other day too. Ah, man, that one would hurt me too because it's OKC versus Westbrook. I'm gonna go with the Clippers because I think the experience that they have is just something that you can't beat when it comes to OKC. When I look at the guys in our team, only guy who's really been in the playoffs like that. Obviously, Shea's been in the playoffs, but he was in the playoffs as a rookie and as a second-year player. So this will be the first time in a few years since he become a superstar level player to be in the playoffs, I don't think it'll change much, but again, always something to look out for. And I think when you consider that outside of him and Gordon Hayward, the rest of our team had never been in the playoffs, that could come into play. Especially when you look at the talent on the Clippers. They got 4 Hall of Famers on that roster. Like, I know they're not in their prime or whatever, but Kawhi's been playing an exceptional, and we know in the playoffs he's a playoff riser. PG, he has his choker allegations, but I'll give him the credit here. In 2021, when Kawhi went out, he led them to the conference finals and almost got them to the finals. So I think with that in mind, he could actually, especially with the new look of the team, where it's not just 2 guys and a bunch of like role players, just like 2 guys with another all-star and a bunch of role players, spaces the floor out a little bit more. So it's easier for them to operate. And then James Harden, I think this is the best chance for him to not choke in the playoffs because when you consider the talent he's playing with, it just means he won't be as burnt out. Because a lot of times going to the playoffs, he's burnt out. Like in the Rockets years, James Harden was burnt out by the time the playoffs time came around. So of course he's going to choke. You know, he's tired at this point. But I think with this team, he has a smaller role, so there's more of that taxing on his body to be burnt out by the time the playoffs come around. So I'd say I'll give the edge to the Clippers. I think they're just maybe a little bit more stacked and more experienced than us.
Yeah, I also give it to the Clippers, but if the Thunder do want a chance, I'm going to bring up Chet Holmgren again. It's just Kawhi and Paul George, they're going to be able to deal with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They'll be able to give Jalen Williams, not that they're completely shut him out, but they're going to make the life a lot easier to be able to stop him on more bucks compared to other teams. But between Holmgren and Zubac, I think that'd be the Thunder's dream scenario of like how to win this game. But Chet Holmgren still in his rookie season. It's gonna be a hard one for him. So I also give the edge to the Clippers. And I don't think we're gonna need to talk too deep about this one. So I'm assuming you would also take the Denver Nuggets over the Thunder.
Yeah, I would. As much as I want to, the Nuggets, I respect them too much and what they did last year. I can't just outright say I take my team over them as
Mhm.
much as we've been really good. Look, they got the best player in the league right now. I can't argue with that. And not even just the best player in the league, but an assortment of guys who just work together. So I'm going to give the Nuggets that over my team for sure.
So this is the big question. They obviously can't bring in a player this season, but for next season, what do the Oklahoma City Thunder need to do to be able to beat these guys?
I People ask me this all the time, and as much as I'm like, we probably could swing big and get a superstar level player. I don't know. I'd rather keep because we have our young guys, and I feel like if they get better, we'll get better. Like
Mhm.
I think Shea being a top 5 player in the league and probably will stay there for the foreseeable future is always going to be a good thing. I think J Dub will continue to rise and become an all-star level player. I think Shaq can also become an all-star to all NBA level player as well. And I think when you look at having potentially 3 all NBA level players and then you just round out the roster with solid players, that's a championship formula.
Mhm.
I think too many times teams go for that. Let's get 3 of the 2 best players. Like, no, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to always swing big because when you swing big like that, the rest of your roster ends up being pretty bare bones. And I don't want us to be in a situation where the rest of our roster is bare bones. So I feel like if we just continue to, because the jump we took from last season to this season by really just letting our young players cook, who says we can't continue to get better with just having our young players continue to get better? So I'm in no rush to make no huge trade. I think if we just stay put, we'll be straight.
So I'm like in the middle of that. I
Mm,
don't think they need to get one of the best players in the NBA,
yeah.
but I think it would not hurt to get an all-star caliber player, especially with this year's draft not being the strongest of all time, and you still having a million other picks, draft off the bench, and you can clearly develop whoever you want. You guys are that good. I really believe Lauri Markkanen is the missing piece of this Thunder team. If you can make Jalen Williams more of a guard, slide Lauri Markkanen in there, this team's never losing a game. I'd be that confident, and they have the picks to do it. It's not like you got to give up 8 picks and like like all your young talent. Lauri Markkanen will be at a somewhat reasonable price, and I know Utah wants to keep him. He's not going to be there forever. He's so underrated, so good of a player, and I think he's the next step for the Thunder. So that's the one player I want them to get as a player of that caliber, or just a shooting big off the bench. Like I thought the Thunder missed out on Kelly Olynyk. I thought he was like the missing piece for this season to get that type of guy off the bench. So my thoughts is just the Thunder don't go all in on getting the craziest player of all time. A
Yeah.
player like Lauri Markkanen though literally completes the puzzle.
I agree. He was the only guy I was like, yo, if we make a trade for him, I'm not mad.
Mm,
So completely agree with that. For me personally, if we were to make that trade, I wanted us to trade for Lauri Markkanen. And then it didn't seem like he was too available because the Utah started winning games. So I'm like, all right, it's probably not gonna happen. But if there was one guy I was like, yep, give me that player, it was Lauri Markkanen. Some
mm.
people who are Bulls fans were like, you guys should trade for Zach LaVine. I'm like, nah, I don't want Zach
I
LaVine.
wanted you to
But
trade for him too, but not for like your guys' purpose. Like
no, for your
for my
benefit,
purpose,
of
you should trade
course.
Levine. Yeah.
Nah, but I wanted Laurie Markin in our squad, and I wanted a big. I didn't really care what kind of archetype of big. I wanted either a big who could. I wanted one of two. Like you said, shooting big would have been good because it fits our thing of having a lot of shooters, or a big who can just be sturdy and block some shots. Because look, Chet blocks some shots, but dude is only 208 pounds, bro.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it is good to have some more size. So yeah.
And then my final question, with there being so many draft picks involved, how many seasons does it take to Oklahoma City's lifting a chip?
Man, I'll be honest, I see us winning a championship within the next 3 to 4 years. That might
Mm.
seem like crazy, but you gotta realize it's already 2024. So 3 to 4 years, that's either 2027 or 2028. So I don't think that's crazy to believe we can do. I think within that time, a lot of those guys I named can become all NBA level players by that time, and other guys will be role players who are just steady in their role. And I think we can really be a championship contender. I think right now the NBA is in a spot where there's just a lot of competitive teams. And I think we can surpass those teams by having more talent through our draft. So I'm gonna say the next 3 to 4 years, I could see us holding up that trophy.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way. Is the league is the most competitive it's ever been, but no team has a future where the Thunder, where the young guys performing like this. They still have a million draft picks, so like they can have like role players still on rookie contracts, like cap space to be able to make it work, draft picks to be able to make it work, and they just have the talent already. So like, let's say one of these teams has a terrible year, and suddenly Cooper Flag is on like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like I've done it in 2K a billion times. Like it
Me too.
and they run a dynasty, and that's how it is. Like I know you can't run the future off video games, but like the pitcher's there. The Thunder have a million picks. They can either trade for a guy or they're going to be able to keep building this bench with all these young guys. And this is arguably the best team currently in the NBA at developing talent. So the future is as bright as it gets.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I do the same thing. Sometimes I don't even use the Thunder. I use a different team. And my main goal every time is we have to be able to compete with the Thunder because by like the year 2 of the simulation, they have Cooper, they have Cameron Boozer, they have the craziest roster. And I'm like, if we don't get somebody, we're gonna get cooked by OKC, bro. It's bound to happen. So
yeah. I know it's kind of crazy to say this now without them having the playoff success, but I think it's kind of safe to say that there's a dynasty in the making happening in Oklahoma. Unless something tragic absolutely happens, I think there's a dynasty on the way.
I'll end on this. I'm never one to claim it before it happens because look, we had Westbrook, KD, and Harden in our hands, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be a dynasty at some point. Just like that, everything changes. So I'm not gonna guarantee it. I think until I see us win at least one, I'm not even gonna claim that on us. I just think we can win one pretty soon. But I understand why you say it, obviously. Yeah. But I've been here before. I can't do it, bro.
Well, I'm just trying to get clipped on social media, whether it's a good thing or bad thing. I'm here for the views.
I'm with that.
It's all about the clicks.
The clicks.
Thank you so much for tuning into this segment of the 5 Out Podcast. I am Joey the Master Lee Master, and me and Everton are so thankful for your guys' support. If you want to keep supporting us, please check out the full podcast on Spotify and follow our TikTok account. Both of those will be in the bio, and make sure to leave a like and stay smooth.